Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome to the Hangin with Web Show Live. That's right, we are live right here on Facebook Live and on the YouTube channel Live. Tonight we are going to be recording our Hangin with Web Show radio hour. We're going to do that in just a few minutes. We got a great guest lined up. We've got comic creator and writer Benny Powell in the waiting room. He's going to come out and talk to you about White Widow, about his projects, about his the White Widow spin-off project, really, that is the I Make Boys Cry. We've got some great covers to show you. We've got some terrific conversation to have. Before we get started, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. We're going to get ready in a minute to go start the recording for the radio show. So when that happens, we'll play the intro and all that stuff. So in the meantime, while we're waiting, go ahead and get those shares done. Go ahead and get those watch parties rocking and invite your friends to come on in and see this. I know a lot of you got other shows that you're looking at tonight. We don't normally do the live broadcast here, but it seemed like a fun way to record this show and get some audience participation and interaction. So make sure you get those shares going. You got watch parties getting ready to roll. And so we're going to be doing all that. In the meantime, again, we are going to be joined tonight by creative artist and writer Benny Powell from the comic series White Widow. He's probably best known for because they've gone crazy, and White Widow's doing really well out there. But you also might recognize Benny's name from working on the Markiplier comics. Also, again, and his latest project that's coming up here, I Make Boys Cry. We're going to tell you all about that stuff in the next hour and change. As long as Benny wants to hang out with us, we're going to hang out with him. It's the Hangin' with Web Show, guys. You know what we do. We're just hanging out with friends. So in the meantime, some quick announcements to make. Thank you, everybody who tuned in a little earlier to the Hangin' with Web Show's IMTV. That's Indie MTV broadcast. We have been gathering up videos and clips from musicians across the country and across the world, really. And it was just a great idea to go ahead and play those like an old MTV broadcast. Just nothing but music video after music video, just some awesome content. So thank you guys for tuning into that earlier. If you liked it, please let us know that you liked it. We'll do it again and again and again. I know our musicians were having a ball. They were in the chat room interacting with all the listeners, so that was really awesome. So we're going to do that again. Please remember to check out HWWS WebTV.com for a list of all the shows that we are currently distributing, from Mark B. Lee, from Thomas Carter Rochester, JBauerArt, Reels and Heels from Nicole and Brian, and so many others. We've got Hennessy Williams, comedy, so much going on at HWWS WebTV. So be sure to check out the channel on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube right now, be sure to give us a thumbs up, a like, and a share. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Tell us what you think of our content. And stay tuned in. Guys, we're going to get ready here with the recording for the radio show. So I'll be back to chat and introduce Benny right after the intro. So stay tuned in. Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hangin' with Web Show Radio Hour. I'm GW Pomacher, and in the next hour, we are going to dive into comics and comic culture, everything from comic funding to art to writing to creating. We're going to do it with a fantastic guest. We have got writer and creator Benny Powell waiting in the wings here to come on and talk about White Widow and I Make Boys Cry. Benny Powell's from Absolute Comics. I know you guys are familiar with the titles out there, so stay tuned in for that. Welcome to Krypton Radio's Hangin' with Web Show Radio Hour. We love what we do. We love getting to do it with you, so make sure you go ahead and share the heck out of this show. We're going to give you a bunch of links during the course of the show so that you can find us in the future. In the meantime, guys, let's talk about comics. All right? Comics are a huge part of popular culture. They are so much inspiration and source material for all the things that you're seeing on YouTube, all the things you're seeing in the movies, on TV. Comics are part of our culture and helping to set the trends, helping to set the tone of comics. Is a creator, fantastic creator. We've met several times here on the show. We've had him in the chair a couple times, but we've also just got to hang out with him at conventions and other places. Just an all-around great guy. So please welcome to the Hangin' with Web show. Here is artist and writer Mr. Benny Powell. Benny, how you doing, my man?
Hi, everyone. And there's
Hey, little guy.
my son photobombing. All right, go
That's
see Mama.
right. It's a video show bombing. There you go. Hi, I love it. I love it. Benny, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. I'm just we've got okay. James, go see your mom. Go see your mom. Jenna. Sorry.
Oh, you know us, man. We're lucky when we get a break to record the show because Cosplay Michael is just across the hall.
Yes.
So,
yes.
you know.
Yeah. We've just been. It's been like this perfect storm for us with everything. We've got a dual Kickstarter going on right now that's ending on this Saturday.
Wow.
We did it. Normally we do only 2 weeks, but because of everything going on, we wanted to give people a chance for things to get better, or if things got worse, then they could withdraw. You know, we didn't want to be, the last thing we wanted to be was a burden. So we did 45 days, which is a really long time for us. But at that same time, we were expecting back in April, the issue, we print in China. So we sent everything off in January to the printer, and they went for Chinese New Year, and then the world changed.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
So
we'll start out the show there. We'll start with that, man. How are you? How is the family? How are you all doing?
we're doing good. It was a crazy time. What ended up happening was like this craziness for us. Thankfully, everyone was healthy. We didn't have any sickness. We had a few of our partners did get sick, but they were just able to weather it out at home. Mm-hmm. They were in New York City, which is like the petri dish.
It was really for the U.S. It wasn't ground zero. It wasn't where it came. Started necessarily, but because of the amount of travel, because New York is that kind of a hub for everything, they just got slammed, man.
Oh yeah. So for us, because we print in China, which we love our printers. I've been working with them for decades, literally. They got delayed. They couldn't go back. By the time they finally got back in March, they were able to finish everything, and by the end of March, so we thought, okay, we're about a month behind. We went to ship, and we shipped by air economy, and it got about halfway here, and FedEx economy air became no longer a thing. So we literally just got the books in last Friday. So if that gives you an idea, so
that's kind of pulling it kind of close there, huh? Yeah.
From April until last Friday, they've been in transit. What we had to do is literally send someone over there, confiscate them back, and then ship them via DHL Express, which costs 3 times as much to ship.
Wow.
So yeah, and so those are all in, and we've had order all piling up. So yeah, it's been a crazy time. So between that and this Kickstarter and all of the other stuff that we're having to do, it has been just an absolute perfect storm of activity for us.
Yes.
Just utter chaos. I mean, it's good. And then
only a creative artist hears the word chaos and says it's good.
I mean,
it's what we do, right?
At least people like it, Yeah.
Well, that takes me right to the next question. Kickstarter has become a staple of comic creation here in the past several years, especially, and it's a great way to measure audience enthusiasm for a product. So how is everything going?
For us, what we do is we do a kind of a combination of platforms. So we distribute three covers for our White Widow, and now for I Make Boys Cry as well, that are retailer edition covers. So those are the covers that'll have the barcodes on them and be available through Diamond through your local comic book store.
Okay.
And there's always been this brick and mortar versus Kickstarter or direct sales type of argument. For us, we do it to where it's one supports the other. So what we will do is we will do the Kickstarter editions, which will have a lower print run, and instead of 24 pages like the retailer edition, they have 48 pages. So
Wow.
so they've got a bunch of bonus content and stuff. So they're highly collectible, but we don't undercut the retailer edition. You can get our retailer editions on our Kickstarter, but you're paying for shipping and you're paying full price and things like that. So, and we put right on Front Street, this is the retail edition. Here is the barcode for it. You can get this at your local comic book store. Please support your comic book store. And people will go to their comic book store, order 5, 10 copies or whatever of the A, B, and C cover, and then they come on our site and order that. We also do sell direct to retailers those Kickstarter editions.
Okay.
So they can...
So a collector can go to their local comic shop, maybe.
Right.
If that comic shop is elected to participate, they could still get some of those variant covers and those
exactly
and styles. That's awesome, man.
So for us, and then we also have our web store, but we always make sure that everyone else is serviced first. And then, so it's a greatly delayed process. Like, for instance, the issue 4s have come in. You still can't order issue 4 on our web store.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So they'll be out in stores and everywhere probably for a month or so before you can get whatever, because we want to make sure we fulfill everybody before we start taking any new orders.
Now, the White Widow comic has become incredibly popular. I know a lot of fans out there. I think when you and I first talked, White Widow was, you had done White Widow #1, and I think you were working on the next one. And here we are a couple years later, and I think I was...
It's in a year.
Has it been a year now?
Yeah.
And I was looking at the different cover design, the things that were online, and I was thinking, wow. And that's all demand. They want more White Widow, right?
Awesome. There's, ironically, we keep paring down. So like our first issue, I think it was over 50 different covers.
Wow. Yeah, I remember some of the artwork from those. It was amazing, man.
And then we went down to 40 and stuff like that. So for this newest campaign, because we have 2 different titles, we have 20 different covers of each. So it's only 20. So we went down. But then retailers are now doing their exclusive covers. And so the number still stays pretty high because the retailers are doing sometimes 3 to 6 different variant covers for their various
retail outlet. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's first of all, hats off to your artist, because that's an incredible workload.
Well, it's multiple artists. That's the really fun thing for us, because we work with like the top artists in the business, and we're constantly bringing in new ones. We simultaneously like to work with established artists as well as with like up and comers that people may not have heard about, or sometimes we're their first shot. I won't embarrass them, but we had one artist who, he was known for going to comic book conventions and doing, you see the poster guys and stuff. He had never done a cover for a comic book, and he did 3 covers for us all in one campaign. And no, it's 2 campaigns. And he's now, because of that, so popular and so busy, he's not able to do any more for us for a while.
Oh, wow.
So
that's awesome, though. Then that way you want these young, the talent coming in, and then being able to branch out and do whatever they're going to be doing. It's great. Isn't that part of the small press and indie comic mentality, is to reach out and make those collaborative efforts and watch our neighbors and our friends grow
Well,
beyond
yeah,
us,
yeah,
right? I
and
mean,
that's kind of the thing that we love is we've become this showcase. What's been crazy about total circulation, which there's a resource out there called Comicron that only captures a small percentage of, because like I said, we've got 5 different channels of sales. So we know our numbers, and based on our numbers, we realized, over 65,000 total circulation for issue 1,
wow,
which is that's
that's
the
amazing.
that's I like. I feel stupid because I literally said, okay, when we were starting this, I said, look, guys, we'll be lucky to hit 5,000 total circulation. That'll be like a monumental success. So let's
And
all be,
that's an indie creator's dream right there. If you can hit
yeah.
5,000, get your product out there to 5,000 people. Those are indie.
Those would be phenomenal numbers.
Yeah,
Like,
awesome numbers.
to put this into perspective, like top indie books out there are about 15, 16,000
Hmm.
total circulation. Um, and in fact, hit Marvel comics these days are around those numbers. It's crazy.
Well,
Um,
and I mean, and the ebb and flow of the creative arts is, demand. Demand is often a function of what economists call disposable income, because it's a measure of what people have to spend on their pleasure items.
right.
Whether it be a trip to Disney World or your comic collection or all of these things that you do with your disposable income. And when times get hard, we're kind of the arts are the first place where they're like, "Yep, I can't afford that anymore."
Sometimes it also, one of the interesting things is, one of the only industries that survived the Great Depression was the entertainment industry,
Yep.
because people need to escape.
Yeah.
They still need a form of entertainment, and comics are one of the best resources for that. But of course, they still have to be good.
Well.
you know as far as that goes, I can't. I think the stuff is good that we're working on, but I'll let other critics out there do that. But what really floored us was, to give again perspective, a top selling Marvel comic, top, will maybe break 100,000 total circulation. So for our first issue, right off the bat, to do 65,000, that put us around the top 14 in the entire industry, in by circulation.
Wow. That's
So,
it is that's phenomenal numbers. And what let me ask you. I mean, let's kind of break it down. You're a writer, you're a creator in your own right. You're organizing multiple artists on multiple levels. You've got a lot of things going on. What would be the thing that you would attribute your success with White Widow to the most at this point?
um,
I mean, obviously, first of all, because when we sat down, I was fortunate enough to have an issue number, the first issue there, in my hand. So, in addition to a wonderful story, an awesome character, and amazing artwork, I mean, guys, check out we're gonna actually show you some of these variant covers that we grabbed from online here in a minute. But what would you attribute your success to so far?
well, I would say, first and foremost, I'm partnered with an amazing creative partner, Jamie Tyndall, who spent, he at that time was most known for doing like covers for Lady Death and Zenoscope and things like that. But more importantly, he had spent a lot of time creating a fan base at the local comic book level, convention level, um, and he and I work together to completely create this. So a lot of this goes to his creativity as well, and his fan base and stuff like that. We have a fan base. I with Absolute Comics, was part of Red Giant. I have, I guess, some fans. I used to have a web comic. I think it had 60 million views worldwide at one point, called Wayward Sons Legends. So I was able to tap into that. So there was some existing fan base there.
Yeah.
But another thing that I think people really, it resonates, is the underlying story as superficially, it's White Widow is a superhero, another spider based character.
Okay.
But that's superficially, if it were just a straight Spider-Man knockoff, for instance, I don't think we would be doing
as well.
Anywhere near as well.
Yeah.
Knockoffs are knockoffs. They'll get a nice small niche and stuff. But instead, this is a story about a young woman named Gabrielle Garcia. And really, we hit on the tagline for it is she a hero, a villain, or something in between? And that kind of encapsulates the fact that she doesn't know what's going on. You are learning about her as she's learning about what's going on. It's as much a mystery to her as it is to us. And as she learns things and realizes that everything she thought in her life was a lie, she's also grasping with a fundamental question that I think this generation is grappling with, and that is, who am I? Who am I in this world?
I think that is, it's a timeless question. It speaks in terms of fiction. It speaks to that human truth that we all need when we're putting together a good fiction story, and that you have to have a question or something to make your audience think, and the very simple question, who am I, is something that I think generation after generation after generation wrestles with. We grapple with this. We grapple with it sometimes through our 20s and into our 30s. And, who do I want to be? What do I want to be? And what makes me who I am? And Gabrielle's character development in White Widow is just that. It takes you on a journey of discovery. And whenever she discovers something about herself, we're all forced to examine ourselves and how would we handle this or how would we handle that, but more importantly, how are we handling our own lives and who we are. I think it's a great truth. It's a great thing to lock onto, and a lot of that happens in sort of her origins telling. And that's something I wanted to ask you about. Early on in comic culture, the origin story was often a single issue or a single or even a single set of pages and cells in the story, and then later on we'd get into an in-depth origin story. But early on, origin stories were often kind of skipped over. Let's hop into the action. Let's see Spider-Man stop a bad guy at a bank robber. What made you focus so heavily on that character development and on that origin telling?
Well, we kind of start out right in the thick of things. I wanted to like page 1 of White Widow 1. She's standing over a dead body. Some agents are burst in, and she's in her costume, looking confused. So like that's page 1, and then she gets shot out of a window and she's like, I'm gonna die. And that was, I wanted to just really get right into it and then explore. But what I realized is origin stories, for the most part, they kind of suck, to be honest with you. They're
because if you don't have something that's really exploring a character in an origin story, it's just a set of facts that we sometimes don't need to know, or if we do know them, we're going to just kind of push those aside anyway. So
for us, for me, I was like, okay, you have to answer questions, but you don't have to answer every question. So for me, what was most important was, who is she when we first meet her, and kind of get to know her and see who she is, and then a little bit of what can she do. And so I focused on those 2 questions in the first issue. And then in issue 2, we find a little bit about how and why. But then she's still constantly grasping. Like she flat out, spoiler, she kills people in the first issue. She's not, and what we find out here, she's a really good girl, but yet whenever it's fight or flight, she absolutely was willing
she will
to
fight and fight hard.
Yeah.
And I think we look a lot, and I think we owe the comics code for this more than anything else from that era. But we look a lot at our heroes as being heroic in a way that is often antithetical to the notion of heroism, which is, what will you do to save the day? And
Yeah.
if it takes violence, I mean, let's face it, beat 'em up, bang 'em up. Comics have been around a long time, guys. Well beyond our superheroes, into our westerns and our noirs and everything else. And so, what will you do to save the day? And oftentimes, like I said, I think we owe the comics code a lot. They couldn't go all the way to save the day.
Yeah.
And then later on, that just became a part of the character. But then look, I mean, we have the debate online all the time, right? When you look at Batman comics, people say he doesn't kill people. Really? How much collateral damage is in the average Batman movie or comic? A lot. Somebody's laying under a brick building, I promise you.
Yeah.
So, intentions be good or not, I love the idea that your character in issue 1, right out of the gate, this is how far I'm willing to go.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, and then when she's confronted and has this moment to calm down, the one, she has one woman tied up, is about to kill, and she calls her a monster, and it jars her, and she's like, what's going on? Because what we find out in issue 2 is kind of, how did she get these powers? Like, her dad injected her with something, but he wasn't trying to give her powers. In reality, what we find out is he was trying to save her life. She was born with a rare genetic disorder. It's a real disease out there called Crab disease, Krabbe, for anyone who wants to Google. It is 100% fatal in infants. But in order for her to survive, her parents are both super scientists that work for a crazy secret organization.
As one does when you're a crazy super secret scientist.
And her mom genetically spliced her DNA with that of a white widow spider. Now, that didn't give her any powers or anything like that. It just, this is actual science that is being, by the way, experimented on and researched, that spiders have incredibly good regenerative abilities. And so they think that if we could splice our DNA with spiders or other insects or other animals, lizards, etc., that we could take those beneficial regenerative capabilities. And so that's what her mom was doing when she was an infant, and it worked. It turned her hair white, which is why a girl named Gabrielle Garcia, whose mother's Japanese, her father's Hispanic, would have white hair.
Got it covered now.
So,
so much research goes into something like this because, again, even Stan Lee would tell you when he created Spider-Man, it was, he knew the nuclear age was going on, radioactivity was a thing, so he just thought, hey, what if I had the spider bite him and yada, yada, yada. But the science wasn't out there. Everybody they didn't have a Discovery Channel on 24 hours a day. Now everybody's a scientist or a pseudoscientist or a home, they're all watching something, and you get caught more often now. If you don't get the science right, they catch you. Nobody questions where Peter Parker got his powers. It happened in the 60s. We just take it for granted. But if you do it, they will.
So she didn't really get powers from that, but then now she's in her 20s, she's in college, and the gene splice doesn't completely keep up with the progression of the disease, because it wasn't a cure, it was a Band-Aid.
Okay.
And so the disease started to outpace the ability of the genetics, and so to augment it, she had like days left. She didn't even know this. Her parents tested her. She knew none of this.
Wow.
And her dad, his field was in nanotechnology, which in the 20 years since she was born was now more of a viable thing. And so as a Hail Mary, they introduced the nanotech, and the nanotechnology interacted with the spider DNA. And in essence, this is a minor spoiler, her powers are based on the ability to create nanotech infused spider silk, which, if you think about, you might not think that's powerful. Spider silk per square inch. If you had a solid piece of spider silk, the size of a pencil,
Mm-hmm.
you could stop a Boeing 747 in flight. That is how strong that is. Now imagine it infused with nanotechnology that you can control with your mind.
Not a bad day.
No.
You got a pretty good power there at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what all of her powers are based around. She does have regenerative and stuff, but it's the primary her abilities. So that was the real challenge when Jamie came to me. He goes, "All right, I want to create a spider-based character named White Widow," and I went. My first initial reaction is, what can he do new that's with spiders? It's so much been done. And then I kind of took it as a challenge. I was like, you know what? Marvel doesn't own the animal kingdom. They've kind of been around for billions of years. All right, let's see if I can. What can I do with spiders that's using technology and things? I'm a tech nerd, so I always try and look and I'm a bit of a futurist. I try and look to see what is coming out and then what are the logical extensions of that. So and then just apply that as if we have it now. So
that's just and that's great science fiction comes from that. The question, what if? So what is our science now? What if it was just that far further? And exploring the what if, and what I like about comics and particularly White Widow is it explores the what if question, but more the what if. How would a person deal with the what if? Because
right.
if when you put the human character in there, and you start to make the what if confusing, because as you said, Gabrielle doesn't know what's happening,
No.
or why, or so this is just all how does a human react to knowing that she can do these things?
Yeah, and it's completely instinctual. So the big part of her journey of self-discovery is she's at war fundamentally with her nature versus her which is the animal DNA that's inside of her that's kill or be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And the humanity that's inside her that's trying to say, well, I don't have to kill. I don't have to. I can kind of do other things. And in the midst of battle, that's why one of the things that it's a visual thing. If you ever see her when she goes into battle, her eyes will flare up red. That's kind of your indication that basically she is full on. Uh, um, Showing that she is the spider DNA in her is being
sort of
activated.
the beast within expressing itself, as it were. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So.
Well, let me ask you. That's it's a neat. Oh, good. He's got some stuff too. I love that down there. I could see that in the waiting room there. So, Benny, go ahead and Sage, go ahead and put. Benny's got a second screen up there where he's got some art. I want to pop that up real quick. Sage, is it not down there? Okay, good. There we go. All right. So, well, I tell you what, Benny, set this up for us. Tell me a little bit about what's going on here on this cover.
Okay, so we've got these are the covers for White Widow number 5, which is in our Kickstarter right now. This is the retailer cover A by Ali Garza, who Marvel, DC, he's done for everybody. We just felt his artwork is amazing. He's one of our favorite guys, and this is our first time. We used to do like foil on our A covers, but costs. So, but we always want to make sure that we have really amazing art for our A cover. Then now this is our B cover by Marat Michaels, who is a very famous guy known for his Marvel work. And this, as you can see, has a foil logo on it. And
yeah.
This is a little hint behind her is Chicago. On the first one, we saw New York. which is where she starts out the story, and
Okay.
she ends up in Chicago by the end of issue 5. And then this is our lenticular cover.
Oh, wow.
So that is by Jamie Tyndall, who's our, the co-creator.
Wow,
And
man.
literally, if you've ever seen lenticular, they animate. So our cover, if you turn it side to side, it as you turn it, it goes from one cover to the other.
One color to the, yeah.
And it just shows
Really
how she
cool.
can kind of morph her costume onto her. By the way, my wife loves and adores one of the things she can do, because she can create this nano silk to look however she wants. She never
I
has
just
to.
want to say that every woman on the internet loves that idea.
Yeah, like
Just
literally,
think
you can
about
make
it and your outfit changes.
exactly like in issue 2. She did a little fashion twirl where all she has to do is think about whatever handbag, whatever anything she wants, and instantly it is created. The one
The
thing that
entire backstage just lit up over here, just thinking about that idea. That just think about it and there it goes. So yeah,
now
man, that's fantastic. That is, the art on this is incredible. We're
so
gonna
those
go ahead and remind
good.
everybody on our radio hour on Krypton Radio that we're gonna go ahead on our Facebook pages and places, and we're gonna put some of Benny's art up here from the amazing Jamie Tyndall and his team. We want to show you guys some of what's coming out of the White Widow universe. So check out our social medias for those pictures, guys. You can't see them during the broadcast, but we will show you. Check out on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and those places, and you'll see some of this amazing artwork. How did you and Jamie get together, man? How did you and Jamie get together? And like you said, Jamie said, let's do a spider hero, and you're like, so I mean, had you guys know each other for a long time?
I met him 3 years ago at Orlando MegaCon. And I what happened was my wife wanted me to pick up some exclusive covers by J. Scott Campbell of one of her favorite characters is Phoenix over at Marvel, and he had some exclusive J. Scott Campbell. So she missed being able to be in the line because of our son, who was about a year and a half, 2 years old, was being rowdy, and so she was very upset. So I told her I'll go get it the next day. And lo and behold, even though they were supposed to parcel it out, J. Scott sold out the day before. So they were gone, and I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble. So I was going back to my booth, and I see this artwork that at Jamie had his booth, and it had Phoenix, and I recognized this style because my wife had got some stuff from Zenoscope the day before, and she was like, this guy's amazing. So I stopped by, and I was like, I need to buy this stuff to save my life. And so we got to talking, and he was saying he was going to do his art book, and I also do printing. That's kind of one of the ways I put meat and potatoes on the table. And so I offered to help him do his art books, and we printed those, and we created a friendship and stuff. And as he was talking, we got to talking, we decided, hey, let's do something together. And that was something that he had wanted to do for quite some time. And then he had another series that he'd been teasing on his artwork over the years called he put a little like graffiti in the background that would always say, I make boys cry. And it was this idea that he had for a long time. And that's actually what this Kickstarter and what this issue is all about. I think you're muted.
My camera, please. Are we there? Okay, are we there? Oh, yeah. I'm echoing now. Okay. Okay, so okay, Benny. So let's talk a little bit about I Make Boys Cry. Where are we headed with the I Make Boys Cry story?
So, as I said, White Widow, in White Widow number 5, she starts out in New York and she gets a clue. She's trying to find out about um, what's what what's going on. She's trying to find allies. She's trying all this sort of thing, and she gets this clue. She has this spider symbol, if you notice on her chest, but it's a very stylized spider symbol, and turns out that symbol was a clue her dad had left her, to take her to a group that would hopefully be allies if she ever needed to hide out. Again, her parents did not expect her to get powers or anything like this, but they knew that there was a possibility of this armor because they had developed this armor, for this nanotech armor for the people they worked for. So he embedded this symbol. That's why she has a chest symbol, because otherwise, if she can create the suit, why would she have this spider symbol? It was kind of something we put from all the way at the very beginning. And so she follows that clue, and it turns out that it's an embedded symbol similar to this group called IMBC, which is a Latin phrase. We'll find out later. That's a big secret. That people who are in IMBC don't even know what IMBC stands for in general. So one of the smart aleck team members says that it stands for "I make boys cry." So it's a bit of a joke. That's where that comes from. So the organization is IMBC, and she came up with the fake acronym of "I Make Boys Cry," thus the title of the series. So she's going to try and either, that's the big question: is she going to work with them, or are they going to fight? Is it going to be the standard thing there? So, so issue 5 is the first part of a 2-part story. That the second part is going to be issue 1 of I Make Boys Cry. So it's a true spin-off, a 2-part story. Issue 5 is with our regular artist, and then issue 1 of I Make Boys Cry is Ronaldson Freire. I might be butchering his last name, but again, another fairly well-known artist out of Brazil. That is one of the things too. We work with artists worldwide. This is a global thing. And you're still muted.
I wanted to ask you about that. Times being what they are, I know we talked a little bit at the top of the hour about the effect that the last few months has had on things like shipping and availability. But you collaborate with artists and people all over the world in the creative process. How has the last several months affected you during the creative process?
For us, it's been actually not a huge difference per se. It actually, what's ironic is because so many other comic book publishers went dark for several months, they put a pause on production. We were able to actually get a bunch of artists who suddenly had availability. So it kind of helped us because we were one of the only few people out there still producing and trying to get ahead. We know that this has not been the best time for anyone, and our heart and prayers go out to anyone who's lost family members or lost their jobs or things like this. That's a big reason why we were fretting. We were so worried that we would not be able to even hit the minimum goal. So for us, when we launched this Kickstarter, for us to hit the minimum goal within 30 minutes, we were like, oh, thank God.
Wow. Yeah. No. So awesome, man. So we it's good to see, how you guys have handled the last couple months, especially creatively and of course business wise. A lot of people have questions though, as I know you've seen it all over the internet, etc. The impact that the last couple of months have had on the general business model for creative arts.
Yeah.
Have there been any lasting impacts that you've noticed? Anything that you want to keep around? Anything you want to you hurry to get back to? I know, us personally on the entertainment side of things, we want con culture to come back someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
That's
But are you
the
guys looking at?
conventions. The conventions hurt
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, that's where a lot of our marketing has been
Put him.
focused on. Um, the conventions are where we get to interact with, as well as financially, they're a big source of income for us. So it's kind of a double whammy. That's been the biggest hit, personally, to us, as well as Diamond. The comic book industry, for anyone who doesn't know, there's only one distributor, um, until recently, for the entire industry. And because so many shops were shut down and so many distribution centers were forced to close, they went dark for, I believe, 2.5, 3 months. And so local comic book shops were not able to get new product, and that was a tough time. We did everything we could to help support any retailers still out there. There were some of our local ones here. We're doing curbside pickups. I've got a signing we're trying to figure out the logistics of here at Acme for issue 4, in the next week or two. And the big question is how do we still social distance and provide a signing event?
No, right down here, I think a local Orlando-based show, a small show actually. Typically, it's a very small. It's Orlando Toy and Comic Con. They put on their show, which now that we're reopened, as it were, on a limited basis. But again, 4 months in the house for everybody, they flocked. It got so that it was downright dangerous because the proximity to everyone, and different people are affected and feel affected different ways. So some are masked, some are not, and this was a huge crowd. And I never really thought of once you take the gate and lift it up and let people out, how are they going to act? And I saw pictures from this particular event, and I thought, wow, people just went crazy. And the numbers, of course, as we reopen, as was predicted, are spiking back up a little bit. And so you looked at that and you said, wow. And part of that is just self-discipline, I think. We've been trapped for so long that you said, yes, we can go to this place, and they all went.
Yeah.
So you have to worry when you're going to set up a signing or whatever that people have been trapped in the house for 4 months. Are they going to line up and be right on top of you and each other? And of course, I know you have a little guy to worry about. So do we. When we go to the conventions, that's one of the things I worry about is maybe I can wear a mask or stay away from things, but Cosplay Michael is going to be crazy, touching everything, and he'll get a small version of something that will go away in a few days, and he'll kill me. So
yeah,
it's something to really be concerned about. So as you wade back into the waters, how concerned are you or not?
Well, that's one of the things, like with this, what we're trying to find out. Well, one of the things we've talked about is having like event tickets or signups to where only thankfully this is at Acme Superstore, which has a large amount of space, so there can be social distancing. So we're looking at maybe like having some kind of ticketing system or scheduled appointments or something like that, to where people can sign up to be from X time to X time, to where people don't feel like they have to all be there at a specific time or try and be on top of each other. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of things, we've all got to try and be creative. I will say one of the silver linings for me at the end of this is hopefully the days of shaking hands are gone forever.
She's queuing up some artwork here. I wanted to point out, now we started talking a little bit about spin-off and I Make Boys Cry. We're noticing a variant in the art style.
Yes.
And it's great. On the show, we talk a lot about this with our artists and our film, all kinds of artists. One of the things we talk about is the concept in art of the mastery of skill, the ability to do something because you want to do it, not because you have to do it. And this is something that you guys were able to do very well here in switching the style up quite a
Yeah.
bit in the artwork. Let's talk a little bit about that and why that choice was made.
Well, what we try and do is appeal to, because we think that the story is universal, but artwork is very subjective. So for us, we're not necessarily trying to create variants so that the completists are a small market. But you see stuff at a comic book show. If something catches your eye because that's what style you're into, or if you see it online or you are advertised to it, then that increases the ability for us to capture a new audience who can then read this story and get into it. One of the things that I love, for instance, is so many women who have read the book are like, I don't even read comics, and when's the next one? When's the next one? And for instance, with the artwork you saw there, that's actually my wife's art. It's an anime style called chibi. She does very animated styles.
Yeah, it kind of has that combination between anime and sort of a Precious Moments figure.
Yeah.
Where those things are kind of mashed together.
Yeah.
It is. It's a very, and I imagine that this is aimed more at a younger or different. Kind of
females, males, everyone. There's a wide array of audience that likes this. I think it's a very cute, fun style. Teen Titans Go, for instance, is very heavily inspired on the chibi style, which is like the big heads and the smaller bodies.
Yeah. I mean, early on in animation, the chibi style was very popular because younger audiences are looking for that commonality, familiarity. And if you look at a young person, before they're fully developed, you'll notice their heads are bigger, their bodies are still growing.
Right.
The human head grows faster and becomes its normal size earlier in our lives. So children are particularly drawn to those. And for some reason, demographically, and I make no judgment here, guys, I really don't. For some reason, demographically, women are drawn to that look in a character as well.
Right.
As is evidenced by the sale of things like Precious Moments and those things that go on your shelf.
Yeah. So, Sailor Moon is another example.
Exactly. Of that style.
And then it's actually, what's funny is that the current term is chibi. What's hysterical is the original form of the big heads and tiny bodies was called super deformed. So they've actually come up with a better name for it than.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, because I do recall. Years ago I took a course in that we saw a video on animation styles and art styles, and they talked a little bit about why different types of characters have different features, including what we now call the chibi features, and they talked about that we're all seeking when we look at something kind of commonality. It's the reason why Bugs Bunny became an anthropomorphic rabbit, not just a rabbit. They made it a stand-up guy rabbit because we can feel commonality with that.
Right.
And children found commonality with the big heads and the little bodies because that's kind of what they look like. And if you give them the little bubble butt, it's perfectly what they look like. I used to call that diaper button. I have one child that didn't grow out of it until he was like 12. He still had that arch in his back, and I used to pick on him all the time. So it's an awesome art. It is an awesome art style and a very distinct art style from the more hyper naturalistic White Widow covers.
Right. And then we've got this is, speaking of other covers, this is an interesting cover. This is actually two different covers. Right here is this, from here over is a front and back what's called a wraparound. So this is the back cover, this is the front cover.
Okay.
Of White Widow #5. And then this here is I Make Boys Cry #1. So if you were to put them side by side, it would make this one big scene. So this is awesome. This is a good example. This shows you the I Make Boys Cry team. Alpha Squad is what they're called. You've got Slice. This is Scope with a K. Slice is SLYCE. I liked having it to where it's like she's sly and slice.
Yeah, nice play on words. Yeah.
And then scope with a K. Then this is Aether, Aether. This is which her ability. Minor little spoiler. She has the ability to pass through objects, but again, going back to our science discussion, she does it the only way that it actually could scientifically work, and that's what's called quantum tunneling.
I'm familiar with the term, but not the science. So
yeah, quantum in the quantum realm of stuff, which they kind of played on in Ant-Man. You can literally have an object on one side of a wall, and then instantly it'll find itself on the other side of the wall in the quantum realm because of the way the quantum mechanics work. So if we were able to harness that kind of activity, it's called quantum tunneling. So you could just walk right through a wall. The Flash, being able to vibrate that. No, that's scientifically impossible. It's fun comic stuff, but it never would.
I think work. The first time I was ever presented with that concept, passing through something, was literally an old George Reeves Superman episode when they had Superman try to vibrate at the frequency of the wall and walk through it using super speed. And I remember thinking to myself, first of all, I was 6, and I remember thinking, I don't think I get this.
It wouldn't work.
He's Superman; he could punch through the damn thing. So I'm not sure why he's doing this, but I didn't really get it. I personally, and again, we live in an age when people have a science mind. They have Discovery Channel, they have the Learning Channel, they have all of this exposure on the internet. So if you're going to sell it, you have to sell a piece of fiction wrapped in a piece of science that they can get behind. And
right.
For me, if you can use a term like quantum tunneling, you already lost me. I have to believe you now. So
it's the suspension of disbelief.
Exactly. I have to believe you. I have to suspend my disbelief because you've already lost me. Switch cameras right now, please. All right. So my camera froze. There we go. I'm here. Do not.
Oh. The audio went.
My audio, you keep removing my audio. There we go. All right. We're back. And if you can convince me that I have no idea what you're talking about, then I can suspend my disbelief long enough for you to do that to me. So that's a great way to do it.
I always try and keep up with the terminologies and things like this. For instance, this is the demolitions expert. These discs, she's not a Xena warrior princess wannabe. She's got these discs are actually explosives. It's just that's her way of delivering the explosives. Her name's Tantrum, and then the last girl, which disappeared over here, is her name is Locus, and she is. Basically, she's their support, tech support. She is tied into, she has some cybernetic implants that allows her to see, as well as externals, that allows her to see the internet in her mind, if you will. She was not exposed to internet gas. That's a little Marvel joke for anyone who's seen the things that went on there. But I try to make this a very modern team. The way I describe I Make Boys Cry in a nutshell is it's they go to a school that teaches female assassins. So,
okay.
So it's a little bit like a female G.I. Joe meets Assassin's Creed, if you will.
Wow.
So, and their organization, the IMBC, has been around for millennia. It's a global organization. Very small teaser because this has been out there. What I love is what we find out is the I Make Boys Cry, the IMBC team, was founded by women, and I didn't want to make them just these mercenaries for hire or bad people. Yes, they will kill or do whatever is necessary. But what they found out millennia ago is if someone if you wanted to kill someone, there's always someone out there willing to pay to have it done. So if you take a contract or find someone who is willing to pay to get it done, then it doesn't seem like it's your idea. So they've secretly
Wait, first of all, I want to say that I believe this thought process. Benny, tell me if I'm wrong. Every wife in America came up with this idea a long time ago.
Yeah.
They have an idea, and then they somehow work it in so that we think it's our idea, and then they say yes to it.
Exactly. And the fact is they've secretly been controlling the destiny of our planet for millennia.
As
top
one
of this
would do if you were killing folks that you wanted to kill because someone else wanted them dead,
or toppling governments, or finding information. Yeah, so they set up a corporation here that whenever the dirty deeds that need to be done, they're willing to do, and
that is awesome.
So they're like incredibly smart.
We are up against the hour, guys. So we could keep talking to Benny for another hour, I'm sure. We just exploring this concept for I Make Boys Cry because I love the idea. There's always, to me, something magical about the idea of sort of that Illuminati, somebody controlling the world, pulling the strings, and the idea that it would be this kind of superhero band that is, rotating in and out, training, each generation to do just that, to manipulate the universe, one assassination or manipulation at a time is a fascinating concept. Guys, here we are. We have the cover again, so you can take a look of kind of a crossover cover in the vernacular of the day. White Widow and I Make Boys Cry. Amazing art, amazing stories from Benny Powell and the whole team. The Kickstarter link has been scrolled for those of you who are watching this. If you're listening on Krypton Radio, you can go to Kickstarter.com and search for White Widow Makes Boys Cry and check that out. You can also find Benny on the web. At Absolute Comics on the web. That's www.absolutecomics.net. Check him out on the web. We're going to wrap up the radio hour, and here in the studio, we're going to keep Benny on the line for a few more minutes for our Facebook audience. In the meantime, remember over on Krypton Radio, you're listening to Sci-Fi for your Wi-Fi. I'm GW Palmacher. This is the Hangin' with Web Show radio hour. Stay tuned in, stay logged on, and see who we're hanging with next. And we're here still, guys, on Facebook Live with Jen Hogan, Terry MacGyver. I would have said hello to everybody in the audience during the broadcast, but we're trying to keep that clean for the radio. Alfred Pennyworth, Amir, 1919. You guys, awesome. Thank you guys for being here in the chat. Do you guys have questions for Benny? We're going to give him a minute there, Benny. In the meantime, we're just going to keep chatting.
One cover too that might be of interest. So, as I said,
look at that.
So one of the things, Jamie comes up with a lot of ideas, and it's kind of up to me to make it work. Literally,
he sounds a lot like us during CyberCon, where all we could say to ourselves was artists. Yeah.
he literally, like, for instance, in issue 3, he goes, "Hey, for issue 3, I have this idea for White Widow having a kind of a web ball gown for a cover." And he goes, "I'd love to do a cover like that." He goes, Can you do something like that?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I literally had to go back in and rework the entire story. By the way, it made the story phenomenally better. That's what I love about, like, a collaboration. And when someone makes a request like that, you're able to go, "Okay, all right."
Well, that's what's really great about the small press and indie comics collaborations is that it's not, as a writer, you're not sending him, "Here's my pages, do the art," and leaving it alone. you're taking feedback from him, and he's saying, I have an idea for this. Can you write it in?
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. I love the idea. That's real collaboration. It's not, the same as what you get in the kind of the big, the big houses where it's here. I'm the writer. Here's the script. Draw it and go away.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing.
And I love working with him. So one of the ideas he had was, he goes, I'd like for White Widow to have a motorcycle. And I'm like, all right, how do I make this work? So knowing that she can create nanotech spider silk, I realized, you know what? She can create objects, anything else as well. And the only thing she wouldn't be able to really make are tires. That's rubber. You need vulcanized rubber tires and stuff like that. So literally in this issue, she's seen this concept motorcycle, which, by the way, this is little cool trivia. This is based on a real, you can Google it. It's called the Ghost concept motorcycle. You could just Google
Ghost
that.
Concept motorcycle. Wow.
Yeah.
She's essentially, for lack of a better term, she spun her motorcycle.
Yes, except for the wheels, which she purchased.
Wow.
She purchased the wheels.
That's fantastic. Hello, Travis Noakes in the chat. Thanks for joining us.
By the way, I got permission. This was what I loved, is I reached out to the guy who created that concept. He created it years ago. Nothing ever happened with it, and got his permission to use that design. So
that's phenomenal. That's awesome. So this is a design that was actually out there somewhere, and you were able to get permission to use it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we are. Oh wow, there's 3 of me now. 2 of me. I don't know how many there are.
We lost your audio.
Yep. Okay. So
there we go.
Okay, guys. So we are wrapping it up here against the hour, guys. Please check out that Kickstarter link that was in the chat. Also was scrolling across the thing here. All of the different art. Look at this. This is amazing. Thank you so much to Benny Powell for being with us today and being on the show. We hope you all will tune him in. If you are looking for something to do after this show, remember, guys, the KitchenKillaz are live right now from the Pharmacy Restaurant in Orlando. They are performing, so check that out at KitchenKillaz on Facebook. In the meantime, guys, we're going to say goodbye to Benny. Benny, thank you so much for being with us today, man. We will share all of those links. Sage is on that already. So we hope you guys will check him out on Kickstarter and other places. In the meantime, guys, stay tuned in. Stay logged on. See who we're hanging with next.
Bye.